kick it straight off with Bitcoin, and then I'll get into the traditional markets as we are seeing a lot of new all-time highs. Inflation, relatively okay, but the interest rates belief is still that they're going to be cut. I think there's going to be a lot of heartache around that in just a moment. So I'll just talk to you about that after we get through BTC. Looking at the old urgent call here, abnormal bars like today, especially after straight up, just looking at history, typically signal that something is changing. That could be that we're coming towards the end of a move. Hold your horses. It could just be a short-term move. We're just looking at the short term here. Overall, I still think things are relatively bullish, and we had a few little bullish signals at the lows. These bars will typically come towards end of moves. Now, there might be another day or two of pretty significant moves to the upside. That's just looking at the short term. We're just looking at the daily here. So in terms of the urgency here, what I've noticed over the last 24 hours is now a lot of questions from people saying, is now the time to be buying? Should we be buying Ethereum? Should we be getting into Ethereum ecosystem altcoins? The urgency there is don't do it now. Do it when the markets are down and no one's talking about it. Do it when the prices are around the lows if you need to transition your portfolio into a stronger portfolio. Now, I'm going to go into altcoins later in the video, looking at the strong altcoins, looking at what something that would typically be weak, what that also looks like on a chart, so you can avoid the crap and get into the stronger altcoins, whatever they may be. Next, we look for the targets to the upsides, the next resistance levels. You have that fake out price of 72,800 and the all-time high at 73,800. So two more minor levels there to watch for any sort of resistance levels coming up for BTC. Now, if that is to occur, if we are to see any sort of hits at those levels, I'd still be medium-term, long-term bullish, medium and long-term bullish, even if there was a correction here back down anywhere above sort of 65K, providing that 73,800, 74,000 top remains intact. So if you've still got this top here and you see a correction, anything above the 50% level at 65K is still strong. That's just a correction, and then you might see some more consolidation. Remember, this 50% tool here, we're looking at this top down to this low, slice through the middle. This is strong above, this is weak below. As simple as it can be, that's it. You may have been familiar with this wave pattern that Michael's using on his channel. Just looking at the Elliott wave structure of the Bitcoin price. You've got the low, wave 1, the top here, wave 2. So wave 2 is a correction, wave 3, and potentially we've seen the bottom of wave 4 come in right now, which means we'll be in that final stage into that final top. Where does that price come in? Where does the time frame come in? Anyone's guess right now. All we're looking at is the possibility that we're going into one of these final phases for BTC, which could end up being one of the biggest moves to the upside. That look at what's going on in the traditional space, traditional finance, before I get over to ETH and some of those altcoins. So a quick recap of what's happened over the last few days. We've got FOMC meeting minutes coming up from the US, a couple of unemployment announcements, manufacturing, services, etc. So nothing too huge to come out this week. We saw a bit of that last week. In terms of the interest rates, the market still is thinking that we're going to see a cut in September. Looking at this blue number here and the number up here. So it's currently at 5.5% interest rates in the US, and they're thinking we're going to see a cut and then a cut again in December. So 2 cuts this year. We almost got back to no cuts for a period of time, and now we're seeing 2 cuts again. I think this again is probably not going to happen based on what we're seeing with the stock markets and with commodities. Prices are at new all-time highs. New all-time highs. Did we get it? Just a couple of ticks off a new all-time high price, but we got a new all-time high daily close for the S&P. For the NASDAQ, a new all-time high daily close and a new all-time high daily price. For the Dow Jones, we got a new all-time high price, but not a new all-time high daily close. That was above the March tops. But if we take a look at the futures contract here, the minis, that is, it wasn't a new all-time high price, but it's still trading around those tops. We can take a look at the top 50 in Europe, getting very close to new fresh highs again. The UK, new all-time high price last week, still trading around those tops. Germany, still trading around those tops. We can get rid of this now because it's basically catapulted away from those lows. France, still trading around those tops as well. And the big one, the second biggest economy in the world, China, still going on its 5-month run to the upside. So a 5-month move to the upside. Looking at commodities, oil trading around the 50% level here. So it's still holding up relatively well, even though there's some bearish news out there. We're also seeing altcoins pop off again. Now, with oil still trading around the 50% level, that is still showing signs of support. That's around $77. I've seen quite a few articles coming out saying that, well, with oil down, this is just a bad thing for the economy. Typically when oil's down, the rest of the economy's down, so on and so forth. But I don't think they understand anything about the 50% level. They're really just looking at the last few weeks where the market has been down. But so far, it's holding out above those levels. It's not really affecting what's going on in the broader sense. You're still seeing high asset prices across stock markets, real estate, and of course now with the last couple of days, Bitcoin as well. Gold, new all-time high prices, new all-time high daily close. Silver, new fresh highs, new fresh high daily closes. And copper, one of the big commodities used in the economy. Remember, copper is in basically everything that we use electronically as well. Our piping, everything like that. New all-time high daily close and all-time high price. So with all that in mind, I don't understand how anyone can think that we're going to see interest rate cuts. I'm happy to be wrong. It's going to be helpful for any of the mortgages that we have out there as well. But you tell me how that's going to be possible, and we'll let the rest play out in history. All right, on to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and cryptos again. Now, with it pumping to nearly $72,000 while I'm recording this video, it could well happen in this 10 months. So I'm keeping a lookout for how this is starting to react at those peaks and whether we do see any other pullbacks back underneath those all-time highs. As I said earlier, I think as long as it stays above its 50% level, even if it does push to a new high, then we're still in a stronger play. January of this year, 2024. This was the Ethereum ETF. I don't know what you would want to call it, a rumor. When Bitcoin's ETF was announced, Ethereum also went up and then it corrected. Yes, we still got that move up into the peak, but the correction came again and was just slightly higher than the rumor news before. So you can still see these sorts of moves happen, and then typically we'll get a correction. Who knows? After this time here, we just shoot straight up and you can come back and screenshot this and post it everywhere you want. So we're looking at Ethereum now on the price chart here and the swing chart. We've got higher lows forming on the 50% level. We've got a higher low just before that breakout move. And that's essentially, I guess, what's happened. We've broken through the 50% level and now the market is still just trying to play catch up, whether we do see it a little further up or we come back to test some of the accumulation zone. 3,200 points, that's where this white line comes in, or back to the 50% around 3,400 points. So it's not to say that this was potentially not the low, it's just the move out of the low zone is so abnormal that it just swings the probabilities in the favor of maybe that we're going to see a bit of a pause or at worst, a bit of a correction because of how abnormal that move was. The best thing that can happen, here's your up, down, sideways, is that, the market just shoots up and then finds a higher low base to begin forming a consolidation before the next move. So far, that's what we got on Ethereum. It was up 20%, well, nearly 20% on the day. And so far, trying to test that $3,700 level. All right, so onto Ethereum BTC. Again, back to the title of the video, the urgent warning here. Ethereum Bitcoin is still under the 50% level. So we've seen this pump up. ETH USD looks great. You've got a nice 20% bounce here on the US dollar pair. But when you go over to ETH BTC, it's still below the 50% level at 5.2 million Satoshis. And of this particular range here at 5.3 million Satoshis. So it's got a bit of work to do to get back above that resistance. You can see it's hit it once, hit it twice. And now, even in the last few hours on the close, it's hit it a third time. So do we see a breakout or do we see a breakdown? Obviously, anyone's guess here. We've got the resistance there at 5.3 to the upper side. A close above that and consolidation, that is the first strong signal that ETH can consolidate to push and get to the next resistance level at 6 million Satoshis. So this has been the zone that I've been watching over the last several months now, going back to October as a possible low in the market, a possible low forming for ETH BTC. Over the course of March and April and May, it's broken down underneath that level. However, if this is the pump to get it back above, then this is also going to pump up. ETH USD will also pump up. I know I've spent a fair chunk of the video talking about how these abnormal bars typically lead to some sort of pause or correction, but this, to me, in my analysis, would be the confirming signal that we're going to see further upside for Ethereum versus US dollar. The break above 5.3 million Satoshis, you can see the resistance over the course of time here over the last several months. That would be a very strong sign that would invalidate the downside after this abnormal bar. So that's very high on my watch list. I've got my alerts set. Let's see what happens to ETH BTC over the coming days. All right, guys, that's enough for me. I'll see you at the next one. Till then, take care and peace out.